All right, it is 8 p.m. Sunday evening, and thank you all for joining our hangout to talk about the anomaly coming up in Gettysburg on June 21st. I'm Ms. Parker, and I play out of Washington, D.C., and I am losing the script, so excuse my slow computer here. Anyway, we are hosting this hangout to help answer some questions that you guys may have about the anomaly, when it is, where it is, how to participate. And we've got, let's see here, we've got Andrew Krug, who you may know that is no stranger to our hangouts on air. And he is, let's see, we've got Adam Norris, who's blinking cursor. He is the primary coordinator for the event. And we've also got Lona Fowder, who is our ground ops mistress. She was a co-coordinator with me for the DMV, or the DC anomaly last year, and she's also known as the Whip because she's really great at keeping us in line. We also have Marwan Spitani, who is kind of our primary project manager or chief of staff, and essentially our whip, who's reminding us of everything that we all need to do. And let's see, so get this show on the road. If Adam wants to get started with his info here. Adam, welcome.
Thank you, Daphne.
Adam, can you hear it?
Am I there? Is this thing on?
Yes, yeah, you are.
So I'd like to welcome everybody that is in here for this hangout. One of the biggest things that I want to go ahead and bring into this, obviously, is that we are this is an open Q&A. That's the main purpose of what's going on here. One of the things that I want to go ahead and foot stomp immediately from the beginning is that this anomaly is being held in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, obviously. This is federal land. This is also hallowed ground. This is something that the land, the place that we're actually playing, needs to be taken seriously. We need to make sure that we police our own, primarily. We need to police others that are actually playing. We don't want to see a lot of littering. We don't want to see a lot of profanity. We want to keep it as clean as we possibly can through this entire game. Throughout this hangout, as we're going through and answering a lot of these questions, like I said, this is an open hangout. There are members of both teams that are in this. So one of the valid answers that you're going to hear quite often is check with your local leadership and your points of contact. We're going to be doing, we're not going to be talking strategies. We're not going to be talking inventory payload. We're not going to be talking any of that. This is a Q&A session for those who have not been to an anomaly that are going to, that want to ask questions of what's going on. And I think we have a really good panel right here that can begin to answer a lot of these questions that have the experience necessary. So with that being said, I welcome everybody to this hangout as well. I'm glad you all could carve some time out of your Sunday night to come in. And I'm going to go ahead at this point and turn it off to our ground ops person, Lana, so that she can go ahead and do her part. Lana, you with us?
Yes, I am, Adam.
Go for it.
Welcome again from me too to everybody. What I'll start off by saying about the anomaly is that for me, in essence, this is a chance for us to show Niantic who the better faction in the DMV area is. The anomaly is not the same as day to day. It's the one day that I feel there's going to be a winner and a loser, and that's why I feel, you know, that's our opportunity to let the other team that has dominated us in numbers or, you know, in many other ways in this area know that, in fact, we can be the better faction through better organization, better planning, and better coordination amongst ourselves. Above all, though, I would like to tell you about, a little bit of my experiences at Cassandra. I think, Daphne, Andrew, and I put our hearts and souls into Cassandra last time. But the one take-home message for all of us was the teamwork and the spirit of unanimity that came through on the day for everyone. I think I said to Niantic on the day that through this game, I had probably met more people in the 6 months that I had been playing at the time than in the 6 years that I had lived in DC. But what had astounded me was the degree of camaraderie, team spirit, teamwork that came through on that Cassandra day of the anomaly. It didn't matter that we lost on that day, because of course we'll have the chance to redeem ourselves and prove ourselves in Gettysburg this year. But again, I have no reason to expect Gettysburg to be too different from what Cassandra was last year. We'll probably be outnumbered again, we'll probably be outgeared again, we'll probably be outmuscled again, but what we won't be is outsmarted. We have a very dedicated team of people that are putting in a lot of time, effort, and their own personal resources into the planning of this thing. What we need from you is the commitment to participate and trust that you can put in your leadership, in your captains, in your local points of contact, and eventually in us, that we can lead you to victory. And finally, I think what we want above all is for everybody to have a good time. We'll get into more of that as we answer your questions, but I can't wait to work with all of you again. I can't wait to be on the ground with all of you, and today answer whatever questions that you have, help you prepare, give you some direction, and give you as much information as you need to decide what is the best course of action for you for this anomaly. For right now, that's all I have to say, but I'll look forward to answering more questions in a little bit. And I think I should be passing it on to our Chief of Staff here, Marwan, who will take the lead here.
Thank you, Lona. Yes, the main thing I'm going to be discussing, I am going to be your main point of contact as far as getting you into the proper channels. As of right now, if you haven't already submitted the survey, which you all should have, there's the link right there on the bottom. That is the survey that you want to fill out that we will see and will allow us to find out who you are, generally what you're interested in, and be able to verify you to get you into a more secure community. Once you're actually in there, that's where more of the discussions will be taking place at that point. If you have submitted that survey but have not received a response, there's two possibilities. One is that you have been verified, in which case you will be contacted, or two, it's possible that you received the invitation but you haven't seen it because I'm not in your circles. If everyone could, if you have done so and you haven't received anything, please circle me. I'll be the one that you will be receiving any invitations from, whether that be a hangout to discuss anything or a invitation for the community. And once you are in the community, then you'll be able to have more instructions with more details. So again, the main survey is what you're going to want to fill out for anyone that hasn't done so already. Even if you're not 100% sure if you're going to be going, if you're a possibility, go ahead and fill it out anyways. There's options in there that tell us how interested you are, what you're willing, what you'd like to do. Even if it's not necessarily day of, pre-planning, whatever that may be, please just fill out the survey and we can go from there. And that is all I have as far as the organization. The one other thing actually is that we are going to have T-shirts made. To have those ready for the actual anomaly, the order needs to go in this week, and so we are setting a deadline of tomorrow. Therefore, you want to be in the community where the link to make that purchase is, and so the quicker you're able to fill out the form and get into the community, the quicker you can purchase those shirts, and that way you can have it on the day of and show your enlightened pride. But besides that, have me circled. Check your invites, Hangout invites. By default, Google hides those from anyone that's not in your circles already. So if you check those, and you might have something from me. Otherwise, should be good to go. And from that, I'm going to pass it back to Adam.
Thank you, Marwan. So one of the things that is coming up next is what are the recommendations to do next? If you've gone through the initial survey form, if you're going to go ahead and you're going to appear in Gettysburg, one of the questions that's over here on the side is actually, you know, if we're in Asheville, not in Gettysburg, is the idea the same? Yes, obviously, there's going to be a lot of people showing up. How many is a lot? We don't know. We know it's going to be more than 5. So you want to go ahead and take a look and get your reservation in place now. Now, I know for Asheville, it's going to be going on next weekend. But for Gettysburg, make sure that you go ahead and get your reservation if you're traveling from afar, so that obviously you have a place to stay. There are campgrounds, there are hotels, there are surrounding cities. Getting a reservation hopefully is not going to be that difficult, and hopefully it's not going to be too late. Second thing about Gettysburg, for those of you who don't know, one of the fun parts of Gettysburg is that the cell signal in the area is somewhat, let's call it sketch. If you're Verizon, you're pretty much set. If you are Sprint, you might want to find another way to go ahead and get a cellular signal. It is Sprint around town is very, very difficult. T-Mobile, AT&T is kind of middle of the road. So obviously plan, you know, for your cellular provider, go ahead and plan accordingly. Another thing is, if you've got new players that are coming in, obviously make sure to get them leveled up so that they can go ahead and have the appropriate gear necessary for coming in and actually making an impact for whatever team they're going to be playing on. To bolster on Marwan's comment, fill out the survey, fill out the survey, fill out the survey for your local communities. Get in contact with your local community leaders. They will have information. We're in contact with as many of them as we possibly can to give them the information to disseminate down to you. And Marwan has put himself out there. If you do have any other questions, circle him. And we will get the questions answered as quickly as we possibly can. And the bottom line to everything is participate in the anomalies. As was said, it's a one-time event to go ahead and do this and to just be in the cluster of people that are going to be playing this thing. I have been to one. I have monitored many of them. People on the panel have been to other ones. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Get out there, enjoy it, and have a lot of fun. So at this point, next on the piece is to go ahead and pass it off to Andrew. Andrew is, of course, the founder of one of the founders of the local DMV community, so that he can go ahead and just talk to us for a little while. Andrew?
I didn't know that I was going to be speaking. Somebody said there was going to be cake. I've been to a lot of anomalies, and we planned the last anomaly in DC for Cassandra as part of that. And I mean, these things are pretty simple. It may seem a little bit formalized right now because we're doing the whole, hangout on air, and we've got a Q&A session, and we got spreadsheets, and we have surveys. But at the end of the day, it comes down to deploying resonators, firing XMPs, and just making sure you have enough resources. It's pretty much that simple. So there's going to be several hundred people with you playing at the same time, which might be different than anything you've ever experienced. But it's nothing more than going out and doing your normal level 8 farm or something like that, just on a little bit bigger scale. As Adam mentioned, there's going to be Niantic folks there. These sort of events are fun. I was in San Francisco for the 13 Magnus finale, and they pulled out all the stops. It was a blast. You guys saw the whole Jarvis coming out like a WWF or WWE wrestler, smoke lights, the whole 9 yards. I've been told that if you have the opportunity not to miss this one, there's going to be a lot of the NPCs there. There's going to be a lot of Niantic people there. So if you just want to go and just schmooze and have a good time and have a drink or two on the people who are making you drive around, for hours and hours and hours on end for the last year, go there and just do that. You don't even have to go play. But it's going to be a good time. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. It's pretty simple. Cassandra didn't go the way that we wanted, but it wasn't because of lack of planning. Going into the fourth measurement, I think we were only down by 4 points, which is the closest it's been ever, even though we were outmanned pretty significantly. So we've got a good group of people here, and that we've been working throughout the entire Northeast region, from Philly to Baltimore to North Carolina to West Virginia to Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, New York, New Jersey, every place. So these folks are the people that you turn to, you look up to. We've been collaborating with all the other folks who have been going through the anomalies for this series, just getting lessons learned, what's worked for them. There's been some scoring and rule changes along the way, so just sort of brushing up on that. But at the end of the day, just come out and have a good time. Honestly, that's what it's about. If we win, great, that'd be awesome. If we lose, so be it. I plan on having a good time myself. So that's about it. Just don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. Go out there and blast away and capture. So.
Awesome, Andrew. Thank you. Let's go ahead and move into the Q&A section right now. So I do have some questions from the people that are in here. First question, just rose to the top. Can you walk through the anomaly start to finish briefly? I've heard the checkpoints are in the first 5 minutes of the hour, and then it moves clusters, new volatiles, that kind of thing. But it was only brief. More of an explanation will help. Thanks. Let's see here. Talk through anomaly start to finish. Actually, I'm going to hand that one off to Andrew, if that's okay.
Yeah, not a problem. So the way the anomaly works is the day of, actually, let's rewind. 48 hours beforehand typically is when they're going to release the clusters. In that case, somebody, we've already got a designated person, is going to create maps and get them all out to you. Now let's fast forward to the day of. So now you know where you're supposed to be, at least. And yeah, there'll be a sort of a get-together period time frame, about an hour, half hour before measurement 1 kicks off. So let's say measurement 1 is supposed to start at noon-ish, noon. They'll be at about 11:30ish, like a come get together with Niantic, and they may hand out a clue to the first volatile portals. It seems to be what they're doing for this series, unlike Cassandra, where it was just everybody get in place beforehand. So you all get together. There might be some sort of character, whether it's Jarvis or somebody, and they give a little speech. Then there's usually a couple Niantic people handing out clue packets. I don't know what the puzzle will be. Don't quote me that they're going to be doing that. But if they do, you get your puzzle piece, you all get in a group, you figure out where the volatiles are, and everybody moves out to Cluster 1. And you'll be assigned a place to go with a team and a team captain. Cluster 1 is essentially live from noon until about 1 o'clock. And somewhere between 12:55 and 1:05 will be the magical measurement that occurs. We don't know when or where that's going to happen. I don't think we've had any success in cracking the MD5 some timestamps, since they've made it essentially impossible. And then at 1:05, everybody goes, "Yay, measurement's over with," and then everybody runs to Cluster 2. So Cluster 2 is then live, essentially from really 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, not really 1:05. But again, the measurement will happen at 1:55, between 1:55 and 2:05, and you just rinse and repeat that for however many clusters and measurements there's going to be. There might be 3, there might be 6, there might be 5, who knows? But that's essentially it. I assume we're going to have a game plan where there's going to be people pre-staged at various points in the clusters, so not everybody's. It's not like one herd of people going from Cluster 1 to Cluster 2 immediately. It'll be staged. The majority of people will be moving, but there's going to be some people that are sort of floating in flux. And then at the end of whatever the last measurement is, which let's say there's 4 of them, so at 4:05, everybody cheers, powers down their scanners, and then goes to the place where we're supposed to meet up. It's a lot of repetition, and it's a lot of finger smashing, but that's kind of it. So yeah, you start at the top of the hour, the cluster goes live, whichever one it is, and then that 10-minute window, 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after, is when the measurement occurs. So hopefully that answered that.
Thank you. Next question we have here. How much, if anything, do Gettysburg Park officials know about this event? That one's actually got a bunch of pluses. I can go ahead and answer that one. The Gettysburg Park officials The rumant right now is the fact that they have accounts, they can see the intel map, they see what's going on. Gettysburg is very, very picky. Again, as I talked about before, it's federal land, hallowed ground. I'll repeat that many, many times, even up to the actual day of. They get really picky about trespassers. Park police will go ahead and pull you over. Please, if you're up there before the anomaly, notice the times. The park is closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. They will find you. They will take you, and then we will get yelled at. And obviously, we don't want to go through that. We don't want to go through that machinery. So the park officials do know what's going on. There have to be park permits for any group over 35. So they have gone through city permits. They're trying to go through federal permits, et cetera, et cetera. So again, that goes back to policing yourself. I'm sorry, I forgot to hit select on that one. So now I'm going to hit done. So the next
question. Sorry.
So next question. The event starts at 12 noon and ends at 1900. From my understanding, what is the process? Are we capturing portals on the battlefield for 7 hours? I think Andrew already talked about most of that one.
Can I add a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Daph.
So even though we talked about the 1 o'clock to 1:05 measurement time, usually they'll start the event at 12 that will be under battle for that hour until the measurement time. It is over essentially at 5:05 p.m. And they allot 2 more hours for the after party.
Yeah, it's not 7 hours of straight combat.
No.
It is 5 hours though. So.
Yeah. So be prepared, and make sure you have water and all preparations for that time period.
If I may add just one more thing, I'll say that, of course, a lot of strategizing is going into the planning. And to get more details about this question, I would refer you to your team captain. And I didn't mention this before, but sometime this week, if you're already signed up for participation, you should be contacted by your team captain, who will have a lot more detail and a lot more answers for you about the strategizing that was done.
There's also the second part to that question is what time and where is the event after the score revealed? I don't believe, and Adam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Niantic hasn't really firmed up yet a location for the after party, but at some point during that they will reveal the score. You might, for those of you that have friends online and whatnot, if you're going to be out there, or if you can surf through all the immense anomaly posts that day, you'll obviously find the Ingress account should be posting the score. And there's also another account you might want to be aware of. It's called Ingress Anomaly. Ingress Anomaly account does a really good job with breaking things down and making a graphic and showing you how things were captured, not just on the battlefield, but via links, the fields, how many connected cells were won, all that sort of stuff. So just do a search for Ingress Anomaly. It's an account. Add that, and they give pretty up-to-the-minute score data too.
Okay. Next one is going to be, how are the teams set up? The size? Does everyone have the same role within the team? As I said in the beginning, part of this is going to be check with your local leadership and obviously your points of contact. There are different tactics that have been used throughout the different anomalies, the different measurements, the different events and stuff like that. Everybody's going to bring their own tactics. So for questions like that, as far as team composure, team size, team role, that is something that I'm going to go ahead and use the generic check with your local leadership and your points of contact to answer that one.
But also, if I can add another thing, be flexible. If your role is supposed to be a modder, for example, for whatever reason, or you're supposed to be deploying, you also need to bring a bunch of resources to blow stuff up if you're a modder to deploy, because I'm telling you, once you get there, things are going to change on the fly. In fact, I wouldn't really even go in with a mindset of I'm going to have this role or that role. When I went out to San Francisco, I think I brought about 1,000 XMPs and about 800 resonators, the rest of miscellaneous shields and whatnot. I came back with about 500 XMPs and about 40 resonators, because what happened that day just I didn't have to use any XMPs. So you've got to be able to adjust. Don't pigeonhole yourself into one role. You got to be able to be flexible.
Cool. Let's see here. What's next one? I'll pick this one here. Can you address the physical items agents should carry? Water, extra batteries, etc. Obviously, hydration is going to be key. It's June. It's battlefield. Not much shade. I remember my drill sergeants used to say hydrate, 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 so I get a chance to say it now. Sunscreen is going to be paramount. Water, supplies, stuff like that. Extra batteries.
Shoes.
Oh, comfortable shoes, yes. Yes, comfortable shoes. If you're going to be out there for as many hours as we're going to be out there, you want to be as comfortable as possible because you want to enjoy this experience. You don't want it to be miserable.
And anything to share, like even extra cords between their phone and for power would be good, because those kind of do wear down. Some people are really kind enough to bring extra power as well. But yeah, anything that you, for yourself, to be self-sufficient for 5 hours, as well as to share for other people who may not have been as prepared as you are, would be tremendously helpful. Oh, snacks too. I'm a big snack person.
Yes,
yes, food.
There's no break in between measurement 2 and 3 for lunch, so
yeah,
if you got to bring your own stuff.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think there's 2 restrooms if we're going to be on the battlefield, but restrooms are pretty scarce. It's a tourist town, but yeah, you'll want to be prepared before the event and somehow during.
Well, the other thing too is we don't know far enough in advance. You know, we're 3 weeks out. We don't know what the weather is going to be like. I'm not going to say this past winter wasn't bad enough that there might be snow. I'm not going to jinx it with that, but we don't know if it's going to be sun. We don't know if it's going to be overcast. We don't know if it's going to be rain. So, you know, you're going to have to plan accordingly. That's a good question.
And we'll also try to provide a checklist. But yeah, thanks, Lehman.
Okay. This one right here. It seems there will be inherent confusion with so many portals being monument to 2nd Infantry Division. What can be done to mitigate the confusion on the day of the event?
Listen to your captain, your team captain. I think that's the #1 rule. I mean, we've all got great ideas. A lot of us have been playing a long time, but you know, there is a reason why we're going to have a specific strategy. So, you know, for clarity, yeah, listen to follow the troops, follow your captain.
Well, there's also going to be maps too, so you'll know which monument to the 2nd Division is the volatile one, and which one isn't. And depending on the strategy, you know, it may not even matter. Just capture. So especially if they're that close, if you're in range of 3 of them, just capture them. Just spam deploy. So, but you will know if one is more important than the other because you will have a map. Like Daphne said, you will have a team leader that tells you.
Okay. Next one. Are the people who aren't playing welcome to the after party as well, i.e. for those who are riding with an additional historical context vacation? That's actually a very good question.
Yes, 1,000%.
Okay, that's awesome.
There's people who didn't play that have been to every single after party I've ever been to, and
really, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure.
That's cool. All right. Yeah, but especially if they help you out, but. We're not talking about inviting all the tourists that are around. You're talking about people who help participate.
It could be a player who just
It could be family members or kids
Absolutely.
or anything like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
That's fine.
I'd say any support, yeah, any members of support for our parties, absolutely.
It could just be that you decided that your friend was going to drive up to Gettysburg with you. He doesn't play, but he wants to hang out, and you had time, and so he has nothing to do with the game, but he's there. They will not turn anybody away. They don't check to see if you have a scanner when you walk through the door. They do have a limited number of drink tickets, but that's about it.
Don't take that.
Okay. Next one. A lot of these, a lot of the questions that are in here right now, you guys are making it kind of easy for me because I'm gonna. A lot of these is going to be check with your local leadership and current points of contact. Some of them are what should we pack in our inventories. I'll put that one in the list of need to check with your local people. Next thing, is anything going on the nights before, like a meet and greet for farming? I'll go ahead and I'll put that in the category as well. I would be surprised if there isn't. I'll put it like that, but I'm going to go ahead and say check with your local leadership on that as far as any events that are going to be going on. I have a feeling that the week prior, Gettysburg is going to be overrun by Ingress players, and that's why I go ahead and I stress yet again, notice the park hours. They are very well posted. Most of the main areas are closed from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. This is actually a good one here. Will all of this be done on foot, bike, or will driving be part of the game? I believe the overall answer to this is yes. I think that all apply to this. Anybody on the panel want to go ahead and pipe in on this one?
Yeah, I think, it's really going to depend on the participants. Last anomaly, we encouraged people to bring whatever modes of transportation they felt were at their disposal. We are going to be doing that this time around as well. If you filled out the survey asks you to provide for the modes of transportation that you feel you can rely upon on the day. And that's helpful information for us. And to answer the question more specifically, anything that you find you can bring that will confer some kind of an advantage to your team, please go ahead and make us aware of what you can contribute.
There's a catch-22 to Gettysburg, though. For those of you that haven't been there, if the clusters are in the battlefield, those roads are essentially one-way, very narrow gravel roads that you can only go 15 miles an hour down. So if you are going to drive, you need to be aware that there's going to be the normal tourist traffic and other people who are driving down those same roads, visiting those same monuments. And it's not like you can just cut across the battlefield, because as Adam mentioned, it's hallowed ground and it's off limits. So if you've got a van of tourists in front of you and they have stopped and you cannot get around them, you cannot turn around, you cannot back up, you cannot drive over the battlefield to pass them by. So if you're going to be in a car, just be aware of that fact. Now there are some very limited places you can pull off and park when you're driving down these narrow roads. But if you plan on driving, I would really, really recommend pulling up Google Maps and taking a look at the battlefield paths themselves. Become familiar with how they're one way, where they go, and where there might be stop-offs. So you might have to drive a half-mile south, park your car there, and then hoof it back up, a quarter mile back to a cluster, if you're going to do that.
Yes, to Andrew's point, for those people who haven't been driving around Gettysburg, the side of the roads, the one-way streets, you'll have some that'll have like 3 or 4 parking spaces in a line parallel, and then you won't see any for a while, and some might have angled parking over here. And it is June 21st. It's very close to 4th of July. There will be a lot of people holidaying in Gettysburg. So that's, that's always a consideration.
Well,
yes.
There's also going to be a marathon that day as well. So when the marathon ends, the sightseers might go hit up the battlefield too. So, it might be a little bit heavier tourist traffic that day. So if you do plan on driving, just be aware of your choke points and your limitations.
Yeah, there's a marathon and a bike rally and a lot of other, and just the normal tourists. So the more flexible you are, the better. So if you, in fact, ideally, if you have a bike, please bring it.
Yes. Okay, so we have another question here. I'm coming from out of state, Texas. Would love to get a shirt. How do I order one since I learned the deadline is tomorrow? Again, get in contact with Marwan. We will make sure that you have the links necessary to go ahead and get to him. I'll post up his, I'll pull up his profile here in a second just so you can actually see exactly what his G+ is, and we'll be able to go ahead and get you what you need. One of the other questions that we have down here, let me go ahead and do that for you real quick. Thank you, Marwan.
And yes, I will be. I'll be up all night making sure people are getting in as fast as I can get them in for those communities. So if you haven't filled out that survey, fill it out as soon as you can. We'll be verifying people all night through tomorrow, and as soon as you see that invitation for the community, then you will have access to the order form. If you don't see anything by tomorrow, contact me directly, and I will let you know exactly what the status is, and we will proceed from there.
Okay, thank you. There's a question. Nope, that's not the one. It scrolled out of my way. Next. Question, if we see something that needs to be policed, what should we do? Obviously, as I said in the beginning, you need to police your own. Starts with the people in your own team to go ahead and making sure that they're acting right. Again, no littering. We want to keep the profanity down to a minimum. Actually, we want to keep it down to 0. We want to go ahead and make sure that the local team members are taken care of. Police your own first. After that, if you start seeing somebody on another team or on the other side and they're acting up, you need to go ahead and let them know that's not acceptable. I know the park police will be watching this, obviously, because we have to have the permits for this. I'm sure there will be some park police assigned to us to make sure that we're all acting within boundary. But that's the biggest thing. If you see something, on the spot correction, go ahead and get it handled. If that doesn't happen, report it to your local leadership. If that doesn't happen, get them in contact with me. This thing right here, and like I said, I've said it before, hallowed ground. This is something that's really, really important. Anybody else? Okay.
If you need to, but no, yeah, absolutely. Do as much as you can within your own means. But yes, I mean, the authorities are there for a reason. So, depending on if you mean policing within the game, we handle that with our teams. But if you're talking about there is law enforcement there available.
Okay. Next one. Would camp chairs be recommended? Will they mostly be on the move? I was on the fielding team for Cassandra. I will defer to Andrew on this one since he has the experience on that to go ahead and talk about that real quick.
That's an interesting question, and it really depends on the clusters themselves and how many people we have. If we have enough people where we're just going to sort of camp folks in an area, then you might want to bring a chair. If we don't, if the clusters are large, like a couple of the previous ones in this very anomaly series have been, you're going to be on the move a lot. We just don't know how close things are going to be, where they're going to be located. We won't know that until about 48 hours beforehand. If you have something that's light and flexible, if you wouldn't mind carrying, again, you'll be in a cluster area for the better part of 55, 65 minutes. So might be beneficial.
And I would add too that some people are mobility impaired, and a portable chair goes a long way towards making them feel comfortable. And of course, if there are requirements like that you have, please make us aware of them when you fill out the questionnaires or when you're contacted by your team captain. And we'll obviously take that into account when we allocate roles to you.
Okay, thank you. Next one. This one had a bunch of pluses on it. Is it worth to try a virus? Have you heard it? Have you used it successfully? Heard it being used? Do you even bring them? Again, I'll pull out the vanilla response. Check with your local leadership as far as what your payload, your inventory payload should be, and whether or not that's part of the local strategy. Obviously, we're not going to talk about any strategies in here. That was put at the beginning, but you definitely want to check with your local leadership on that.
But also keep in mind, though, the cluster is live for 1 hour and 5 minutes. The cooldown time of a virus is what? 1 hour. So if you flip the virus 5 minutes into the cluster going live, flip the portal using a virus 5 minutes into the cluster going live, you won't be able to virus it again at the end. So is it worth it? it's a strategy, but do you want to bring 60 of them? I will go ahead and say probably not. So.
Cool. This one just popped up to the, actually, scroll down. There it is. This one. 2 questions. One, I know you said bikes are a good idea. What of rollerblades, or will there be a lot of grass marching? What are the low levels who are going to need? What of low levels who are going just for the fun and to meet people? For those of you who haven't been to Gettysburg, there are some epic hills in this park. So rollerblades, gravity acceleration equals hospital for some people. So I would, I would apply your own safety concerns as to whether or not rollerblades are a good idea. Chances are, though, the clusters aren't going to be right on the road. So you're going to be in, you're going to be in the grass, and etc.
Yeah, right now it's hard to predict. Well, it's hard to predict where the clusters are going to be. I mean, we'll know, I think, a day or two before, but you definitely want to be mobile. So appreciate that. But you're also going to be dealing with tourist traffic, both downtown and on the battlefield, and they're not paying attention to you. They may be paying attention to other cars, but everyone's going to be distracted by the by the monuments or by the game, and so I'd as much as we want you to be mobile, there could be grass marching, there could be some issues with that. I bring them with you, but bring shoes too.
Another aspect of this question that I'd like to address is the question was what of low levels who are just going for the fun. Rest assured that even if you are a low-level player, we have roles for you. So don't feel that as a low-level person you cannot contribute, or you can contribute only to a lesser extent than an elite player, for example. So, plan on being as much of a soldier as your fellow elites, even if you're not at that level by the time of the anomaly.
To piggyback on what Lona just said, if I was a low level, I would be bringing 1,500 L1 or whatever my level is resonators, because these things are an AP bonanza. I mean, resonators pop off as soon as you put them on. I mean, they may last 20, 30 seconds, but I mean, if you can deploy and you can put a resonator on and you're getting points for it, I mean, the more the better. I mean, it is literally an AP bonanza. So just deploying resonators and creating fields and just getting links, I mean, that's, I wouldn't, just because you're a low-level person, I wouldn't discount not playing. I mean, especially at Gettysburg, if you don't hit level 6 or 7, if you're a level 1 player and you don't hit level 6 or 7 on June 21st, you may have been doing too much socializing. I mean, there's just so many opportunities there.
Cool. Next one here. Someone is going after my vanilla answer here. You've mentioned several times be in touch with your local leadership, no clear leadership in the area. I would say if you are an enlightened player, get in contact with Marwan. Again, we will make sure that you have his G+ circle to go ahead and get in contact with. If you're resistance, I would not suggest getting in contact with him. I would go ahead and try to find a local player in the area that is, and maybe figure out what the what the local leadership is. Marwan is not going to be doing that. So I click on him again. So that's the guy you want to get in contact with, so we can get you into communities, we can get you into teams, etc., for the people that are actually showing up, so we can get there and we can get you there, and we can have a ton of fun.
Hey, actually, specifically for Jeff Stoltzfuzz, hopefully I pronounced your name right. If where you say you are from on your G+ profile is correct, I would try to reach out to the Harrisburg folks or the Philadelphia folks. Both of those communities have people in the planning community and know what is going on. That looks like it might be the best course of action for you locally.
Cool. Next one. Is there a location for check-in? Is there a check-in process? Who gives the badge codes of the event and where? I'm sure there's going to be check-ins for your local team, for your local faction. Again, get with your local leadership. I kind of wish I had a stamp right now I could hold up. But go ahead and get with your local leadership to go ahead and figure out where that is going to be for a check-in point.
Well, I'm going to keep jumping in. There's the second part of who gives out the badges for the event and where, and that's something we don't know yet. For this anomaly series, they have had the codes in the little puzzle envelopes at the beginning, and they've also been handing them out at the beginning and at the end. That's a Niantic question. I'm not sure we can answer that, but rest assured, if you're there the day of, you will know. We may not know ahead of time, but you'll know the day of what's going on and where to go to get your Interitus badge.
Okay. Next one. You said Sprint had terrible coverage in Gettysburg. What is the best option if you have Sprint for coverage? Obviously, I'm not legally bound to go ahead and say switch providers, but what I would say overall is plan accordingly. If you have friends that you can go ahead and use some of their service, that's fine. Obviously, it's also going to come down to the team makeup and of course local strategy.
Can I add again one more thing to the end of that?
Go ahead.
I myself have T-Mobile, and it has horrible coverage. What I've done, especially just to play in Gettysburg, this was about a year or so ago, Verizon has a pay-as-you-go hotspot. You can buy them at Best Buy for between $70 and $80, and I think for $60, you get a 3 GB limit for 1 month. Now, if you disable everything, if you use a program like Android Firewall, and set up so that you can disable all traffic except for ingress traffic, you can share that hotspot with 5 people. You'll get a 4G LTE connection, and you should not run out of 3 gigs of data while playing at the Anomaly. For my experience, I think when I play on a heavy day, it can be 300 megs. So 500 megs if I'm doing a lot of stuff, so half a gig. So look into the Verizon hotspot, pay as you go. Don't sign up for a 2-year contract. You can share that with your team. So if everybody kicks in $20, you can cover the cost of the hotspot, and you can cover the cost of the 1 month 3 GB fee. So just a tip.
The one last thing that I will add to that is do not let the fact that you have Sprint coverage deter you from participation. Because again, if you state that as being your deterrent or your concern, we can slot you in an appropriate role, cognizant of the fact that you have Sprint and not other things.
And there are areas of the battlefield that have better coverage than not, and we are aware of those. So if you do let us know ahead of time, like Lona said, we'll put you in a spot where hopefully, theoretically, you should get coverage if you want to be out there playing on the day.
Yes. Roll through a couple more here. Will this people be available to share with people later? This is a Hangout on Air. Marwan, I think you know. Actually, Marwan and Andrew, I think you know this the best. Who wants it?
Second. Yeah, so as soon as this is over, it might take a little bit to buffer, but it will be available on YouTube. The link to that YouTube will also be posted on the event page that you all joined from here. And so if you want to review this later, or if you know anyone else that couldn't make it and would like to see it, the link will be available from the event page.
Did you make this public though, or was this by invite?
Public.
Oh, okay. Damn, I wore the wrong shirt then.
This one, if for some reason the bad apples spoiled the bunch, what do you expect to happen to the event? I'm going to go with the category of I don't know.
There's a reason why they call Joe Philly Walkaway Joe. There's been prior examples of somebody spoiling things on the day of, and although he looks like your favorite uncle who probably wouldn't hurt a fly, he does have the nickname Walkaway Joe. So if Joe Philly does come up to you and says something, you should probably abide by it. There's going to be a lot of Niantic folks out there. There's going to be a lot of people out there in general. So if there are bad apples spoiling things, I mean, I guess it depends on how severe they are. If somebody's walking around with a GPS jammer, that's one thing. But if there's somebody just with a bad attitude, I would imagine that would be corrected very quickly by somebody of their own faction, I would hope. And if not, it would get escalated. So.
Okay. Next one. So I live not so far from a New Carrollton metro station. I and some others can pick up people if they can get there. Is this something I should talk about later? I would say let's go ahead, get in contact. Yeah, local leadership. Let's go ahead and get in contact with the local leadership. Also, Marwan, again, to go ahead and work through stuff like that. We can get you in contact with necessary people that are going to be traveling to and from as well, so that we can get people up to Gettysburg to play. This one, I've been to Gettysburg. There are issues with biking. Are there issues with biking on the grounds off the main paved gravel roads, places not allowed to ride? I would venture a guess that they are going to be very picky about that, about where you can and cannot ride, because again, we get down to the fact that it is a federal ground. I would say the rule of thumb to probably use is if it doesn't feel right that you're actually out there on whatever you're doing, it probably isn't. But you're also going to be traveling with group. Hopefully, you're going to be, in a team, in a group, stuff like that. So you'll be able to see what they're doing as well.
Well, I think another better rule of thumb is that if nobody is traversing an area, you probably shouldn't do it then. The whole thing is literally a cemetery. I don't know if really people understand the gravity of what occurred there and why it's so big and why there are so many portals. But the whole thing really is a cemetery. So if you don't see anybody walking, riding, biking in a spot, I mean, it's up to you, but I wouldn't do that.
Okay, so let's see here. Next one. There's already set points where the clusters are going to be. Those can determine the day of the event. Andrew covered that before, that the volatiles are going to be known before each measurement. As far as the measurement areas, Andrew, when are we going to know the measurement areas?
They generally come out 48 to 24 hours beforehand, so it'll be the 20th or the 19th.
Okay. And the final question that I have in here right now: how do we see the results of the Syracuse portion of the last anomaly? This goes back to what Andrew had actually said.
That's going to be tough, though. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, Syracuse was a connected cell for an anomaly in, I can't remember if it was April or May. I don't know that there's any historic way to see that unless you were to search through the ingress posts, perhaps, and find it. Generally, they summarize things, though, as, Resistance had 5 connected cells and Enlightened had 6, or something along those lines. So yeah, unfortunately, if you're looking for the connected cell result, you might have to do a little bit of digging within the ingress post.
Okay. I have got 5 minutes before we wrap this up. There have been a lot of good questions that have been posed in here. Daphne?
Okay, so a lot of the questions and our discussion here tonight was focused on being in Gettysburg. But if you or other teammates or other people that you know that play the game want to participate, there are lots of roles that they can play from their local at home. So we don't want to discourage anyone who can't make it physically to Gettysburg. And so please encourage them to fill out the questionnaire and just let there are some sections in there to let us know where they want to play and what sort of roles they can. So please encourage all your teammates to participate. Sometimes it is the off-site work that can really make all the difference.
Okay. So as we are wrapping this up, I will go ahead around the room here really quick to see if anybody has anything else. Andrew, you're to my left. Go ahead. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, the one thing I just want to sort of reinforce is that it doesn't matter what color faction you are, there are people playing the game. There is somebody's father, mother, brother, sister, etc. So, although while your scanner is up, you may have a very competitive streak, the second you look to your left and your eyes are off your scanner, though, please be courteous and respectful of the people around you. You know, it's good and it's healthy to have a good, healthy competition, but don't take it outside of the game. And there's going to be a lot of people there. The area is already contentious as it is. Just understand that. Just know that people playing these games are human beings just like you as well. So, you know, hopefully we won't have any bad apples and needing to get Joe Philly involved in things. If you just keep in mind and respect your fellow people.
Okay. Daphne, any final thoughts?
Well, actually, a really good question just came up, so if you don't mind, I'd
Go
like
ahead.
to answer that, Brandon, about the parking situation near the battlefield or town. There isn't a really good parking situation in downtown Gettysburg, nor is there really in the battlefield. We mentioned earlier about how if we are on the battlefield, you may have to park, I don't know, half a mile or so down the road and then walk back. Comfortable shoes will be very important, or bikes. As far as downtown goes, we did an advanced trip last month, and parking can be pretty dicey. There is not a lot, and so we encourage people to carpool and to be as flexible as possible with that. As for final thoughts for me, yeah, like I was saying, there's so many ways people can participate, and I really want to encourage that. Even if you're not available on the day of, some things you can do beforehand is recruiting new players, helping to train new players and level them up, getting, I don't know, helping to supply people who are going to the event, and you know, just talking with, again, the local leaders on some other things that can be helpful. But you, regardless of whatever your availability is, either at that time or that location, you can definitely contribute quite a bit towards this. So go green.
Thank you, Daphne. Lana, what you got?
I think the wiser people on this panel have had very many wise thoughts and covered a lot of ground, but in my eyes of on the prize kind of perspective, what I will say to all of you guys is that right now the way you can help us is to recruit. If you have friends that have not yet signed up, please give them whatever encouragement that they need to, you know, motivate them to participate in one way or another. Fill out the questionnaire. If you have any specific questions regarding organizational stuff, feel free to reach out to Marwan. You should have your team captains that will reach out to you shortly this week, so look out for that as well. But aside from that, go and license. Let's bring home the victory this time.
Awesome. Marwan, final thoughts.
I'm also going to answer one of the remaining questions as far as the anomaly shirts. They are going to feature the logo for this specific anomaly for the Enlightened. There will be an actual preview of that logo on the order form that you can see. So when you're there, you can actually see an enlarged, high-resolution version of it. So that will be available to you. Besides that, if you haven't noticed, I am your main point of contact. I am happy to receive all of your messages and reply to them as soon as I can. Like I said, I will be up all night through tomorrow, accepting anyone, verifying them, getting them into the community, getting things rolling. So if you haven't heard back from me by tomorrow at the latest, then feel free to contact me directly. Otherwise, I'll be in contact with you to get you into the proper channels.
Thank you. Closing thoughts. The best thing we want to do is go up there. We want to go up there. We want to have fun, regardless of what faction that we're on. As Andrew said, you look to the left and the right, you might see one color inside of the scanner, but left to the right, these are humans. These are people that are playing up there, having fun, and that's the bottom line to this. We have all spent a lot of time and a lot of money to get to where we're at in this game. So, again, bottom line: get up there, act right, do the right thing, have some fun, and we'll all be there to meet you for a beer at the end. And that's the end of it. I want to thank everybody for coming on out tonight. It's been a very interesting hour to go ahead and answer some of these questions. I'll go ahead and give my vanilla response again. If you have any other questions, please get in contact with your local leadership and teams. I'm sure that they will be able to give you more answers. Again, get in contact with Marwan to go ahead and get into the community. I will go ahead and say go green to go ahead and put everything in there, as with everybody else. But in the end, let's get up there. Let's have fun. Let's get them back into this area again to have another one of these in the near future. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. I guess Game of Thrones is on next, so I want everybody to go ahead and enjoy that one. And look forward to seeing everybody up there on the battlefield. You all have a wonderful night.
Good night, everybody.